I guess my screen is visible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Good morning, all. Welcome to our Goa Millsop meetup. Today's session is going to be a deep dive into a data cloud and agent force. Um, I know this is the Sunday, but yeah, this is the session. It's not a kind of overview session. It is in January we have Agent Force 2. In that, we're going to explore more on Agent Force with MuleSoft and Data Cloud with the MuleSoft. For those session, it will be kind of a pre-session for you guys. Okay, to understand what is a Data Cloud and what is the Agent Force. And without wasting any time, we'll introduce our Goa meetup leaders. We have three meetup leaders for the Goa. We have Gaurav Dubey, myself, and Vinay Kumar. Due to some reason, Vinay Kumar is out of town, so he couldn't able to join. Yeah, we have Gaurav. Gaurav is a senior architect at Capgemini, Australia, and he is also Goa meetup leader as well as a Nagpur meetup leader and MuleSoft mentor. And Vinay Kumar also a Goa meetup leader as well as a MuleSoft mentor, as well as he is a MuleSoft consultant. And myself, I'm going to introduce in a speaker slash. And the main point of today's session is Sheikh. We have Sheikh here. Sheikh, you can introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, team. Good morning. Uh, my name is Sheikh Mudassir Ali, and I'm a senior solution architect, having more than 13 years of experience into the Salesforce ecosystem, and I've been certified data cloud consultant, and I'm associated with a company called Zinsar. Okay, so thanks for the MuleSoft Goa community leaders who have given me this opportunity to present here. So thanks a lot, Vandana, and
Yeah,
so
thank you.
yeah,
Thank
this
you,
is me.
Sheikh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can connect Sheikh if you have any doubts or anything. You can connect him in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm the second speaker for this session, and myself is Vandana Gowda, and I'm an engineer at Gensa Technologies, and I'm a top MuleSoft mentor as well as a Goa meetup leader. I certified a MuleSoft Salesforce as well as Celigo and Workato. I'm a technical blogger at Medium as well, and a meetup speaker for the Goa and other meetup regions. If you are interested to speak in Goa meetup, please let me know, either me, Vinay, or Gaurav, so we can happy to host you guys as well. Um, you can connect me if you have any doubts or anything. You can connect me either on Slack channel or LinkedIn. Today's agenda is going to be Sheikh is going to explain what is data cloud overview, ingestion and modeling, identity resolution, segmentation and insights, act on data, and I'm going to explain a quick overview on agent force. Yeah, Sheikh, you can share your screen and you can start a data cloud overview. Let me give access.
Yeah, please.
You can share your screen now.
Uh, Vandana, you just run with those slides. I will be speaking out on those slides. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, team. I'm going to talk about the data cloud and what are its futures. Okay. So before going to that, we have very important informations being provided by the Salesforce every time in the winter releases and every releases that Salesforce gives us, right? So the data cloud is one of the important revolution that is being founded in by the Salesforce internally. There has been talked with Mark Benioff telling us that it is deeply integrated with all other systems like inter platform of the Salesforce, which gives every organization or enterprise to run with those data and bring those customers together to run their businesses. Uh, yeah, next slide, please. Can you give me the presenter access?
I guess I given to you. Sure.
Like running this slide? Okay, no worries. Then we'll continue like this only. Yeah. So DataCloud has happened to be the fastest growing organic innovation, like as I said earlier, from the Salesforce. Learning about this DataCloud, we're learning a very important product from the Salesforce portfolio and future proofing of your career. So here we are going to talk you through the right amount of content or the minimum viable amount of information that you need to know to be able to prepare for the data cloud, any other certifications like data cloud consultant. Okay. So basically this data is available for you to have a common or the minimum amount of information that is required if you are planning for any data cloud certifications as well. So this session is completely about theory, and we will not be talking more about the data preparation. We'll be talking more about on the data preparation and the data consumption steps. Okay. Today we have more data than ever. Think about the data in the life of a customer. As you see the slide where you are seeing, we have identity data, purchase data, case data. We have many other information in the day-to-day life. The data has been captured and stored into the system. So data is generated when you browse the website, when you go to the mobile applications. Health data is being generated by fitness trackers. When you log cases or tickets, case is getting created. When you purchase any products, order and order products related data is being prepared. Okay. So there is so much data available, but the customer today that gives us an immense opportunity to understand a customer better and create a 360-degree profile of the customer and to be able to serve them better. The problem is that this data is not connected. Okay. Can you please move to the next slide, please? The data is sitting in siloed systems. Okay, what we call it as, like, we have today we have a very popular platforms that we have: AWS, Google, and many other snowflakes data storage device or platforms. Okay, so all this data is not connected in the current systems. Okay, so the data is sitting in siloed systems. What we need is to be able to connect this data. For example, we can say we can't figure out if the same customer who has done so many purchases from the stores or from the Amazon or from any other e-commerce site where he has raised uh, any severity cases tickets, hence so that we will find these customers to identify his resolutions quickly as we go with those customer data in the systems. In fact, an average enterprises, if you go to the next slide, an average enterprise, this slides talks about the Salesforce 360-degree view of the customer data. So generally we'll connect with the systems and unify the data, transform those data, and we build some kind of mappings within those systems, and then we'll activate those data. We also use those calculated inside, transformed data or harmonized data, and then we'll enable this uh, trusted AI, which is currently a feature that can enable or ground with all your enterprise data. Can you please move to the next slide? Yeah. So actually, before we dive more into the data cloud, right? So we have certain foundations of the data cloud core capabilities. So here we need to remember the order. So when we work with the data cloud, we have to connect with the data available within the system, or we go with external applications or platforms that the data is resided with. So here we have the see, the order is in a way like we will initially connect, will then harmonize, then unify the data. With the unified data, we will be analyzing those data, and then if everything goes good, whatever you have wanted to see the customer information, then those data will be get activated with the other systems which are interlinked with the data cloud. So here the connect the important all, it brings all the relevant customer data at scale from any app device or the any real time streaming data with out of the box connectors which are available in the data cloud. So one after the connecting with the data sources will harmonize this data, organizing all the connected customer data into a unified, singular, standardized data model in the based out of customers 360 platform data model that is available in the data cloud. Once we harmonize this, will we unify with a single customer graph, anticipating that customer needs and preferences with the unified profile that adapt their activity in the real time, like streaming transformations, streaming data actions and everything. Okay. So analyzing and predicting the data after all, connecting with the source systems, harmonizing the data, unifying it, and then we will be analyzing and predicting whether those insights or the unified customer data is relevant or is useful for your upcoming customer uh, promotions, or giving them a resolutions on a quicker basis, and then finally giving those activated data, working with these unified customer profiles, empowering the teams to create intelligent automated experiences across the customer 360. And you need to know that the customers, as they interact with the business, they will get more feel like okay, they are customer centric, and they will give a better options or better uh, buying opportunities or buying practices that the customer is being allowed for. Can you please go to the next slide? Here, these slides, I just want to spend some more time on this. Like when we see this slide, okay, so we talk about a day in the life of a customer data. So we are connecting with the data systems. We have Salesforce CRM data, the sales data, service data, marketing data, commerce data, or any other data that is available in the Salesforce CRM. So these CRMs, they have inbuilt connectors that will be connected with the data cloud, and will set up a kind of a synchronization or a ingestion of this data into the data cloud. So we also have a cloud storage platforms that we can bring those data from these systems into the data cloud, and we will be doing some kind of harmonizations, unifications, and activation using this data available in these storage platforms. We have Amazon S3, we have Google Cloud, we have Microsoft Azure, and many more. Okay. And we also bring the data from the data lakes and the warehouses like Snowflake, Google BigQueries, and others. The data can also be brought from the mobile and website interactions, where you can predict and streamline those data to give better services to the customer. And we also bring those data using the APIs and mobile SDKs by sending those informations to the appropriate systems to cater the services, bring the customers to provide a promotions to those customers to buy, give an opportunity, or suggest them a or recommend them a product that they can buy for. We can also bring from the legacy systems or the systems that have no connectors available. You can use the MuleSoft as a connector option. Then you can bring all those data, harmonize them, unify them, and activate and react on those data based upon the systems that you're working for. Can you please move to the next slide? Yeah. So today in this talk, right, so we have different process steps that are involved. So we have provisioning, data ingestion, product, data mapping, and data resolutions, and these processes are called for data preparation. And we have the other side of this slide, we have insights and analytics. After you're doing all the data mappings, resolutions, unifying all those data, you will work on the insights and analytics. You have segmentation, and you will be activating those data to the appropriate systems. And this, we'll call it as a data consumption part. We'll look a step-by-step process of this going forward. Like we'll be starting with the provisioning and then data ingestion. So can you please move to the next slide? So before we go for the provisioning process, okay, so we actually want to know where does this data cloud lives. Okay, so we have different instances, sandboxes available, different platforms available. So when we talk about the data cloud, where exactly the data cloud should live on? So we have uh, sales data, we have service data, we have marketing data, and this data cloud is built on the top of the Salesforce platform. As this data interacts with these objects, actually works on or stores in the S objects model from the data definition. Okay. So when we come into the data cloud part, right? So the data cloud is actually not stored in the S objects, but it is a kind of a persisted out of off core of the Salesforce platform. Like it actually stores in the data lakes that are persisted in the off core, not on the S objects. So this we have to just remember about this. So data lake stores ingested data and performs transformation. This data is not currently available to many core Salesforce platforms operations. It is not stored as an S objects. So it's basically a kind of a data persisted off core on the data lake side. Can you move to the next slide, please? So we have different options trying the data cloud where it can sit in the Salesforce instance or the Salesforce environment. Okay, we have the data org. We see into the right side of the screen. Okay, so we have an existing customer, and that is working on the data org. Data org is nothing but we have a single Salesforce instance where you have sales, service, loyalty, and other modules are being installed into it, and you are just using the data cloud sitting under it by simply using the connector, and you will be ingesting those data into the data cloud. And to the left side, you will see the standalone home org, where you will be seeing that data cloud will be in the separate instance and the Salesforce you have in the separate. Okay, so for this, like where you have a multiple Salesforce instances where the sales and service clouds resides, and you have a complex structure, and you want to have a separate data cloud instance, then you will be using this standalone home org. We call it as an home org, where the data cloud is residing, and you can use the CRM connectors to ingest or to bring the data from the Salesforce instances. So these are the two like differences. Like you can also install the data cloud within the same org using the connectors, and you can put this data cloud in a separate standalone application, and you using the CRM connector, you can bring those data into the data cloud as well. Can you move to the next slide, please? This is like the similar one. The standalone org is like something which has a multiple Salesforce customer orgs, and it has a heavy, like a highly complex enterprise architecture exists, and where the Salesforce admin is different from the Data Cloud admin. So at that time, we will be using the standalone org, putting the home org differently, and bring those data using the CRM connector. Can you move to the next slide, please? And when you will be using this existing data org, like you will be installing data cloud into the existing org, when you have a single line of business, when data is housed in a single Salesforce org, and your primary use cases is required to access the data via the out of the box lightning web components, require this data cloud set search capabilities for service agents, including basically to cater those service requests or tickets to resolve on a high priority basis. Can you move to the next slide, please? So here we will be talking about the data cloud provisioning. So after installing data cloud or setting all the data cloud, we will be going and providing the administration and provisioning part of the data cloud. We initially set up a data cloud admin by assigning one of the following permission sets. Like we have data cloud admin for the data cloud permission set licenses, and we have a data cloud marketing admin where you data cloud for marketing permission set licenses. As the data cloud admin, you can provision and enable data cloud by clicking on the data cloud setup. So here we can think, here we can remember about this, like data cloud user can only view data cloud features. With this data cloud user permissions, you can additionally add those data cloud admin licenses and data cloud marketing admin licenses in order to make any kind of ingestions, you do calculated insights, you do any kind of transformations, you need to have those admin and data cloud admin and data marketing admin permissions for you to work on the data cloud instance. Yeah, please, next slide. Yeah, here again we will be talking about the user management. So once you have given the access permissions or kind of permission sets given to those data cloud admins and have Salesforce administrator profile, you can access those Salesforce setups as well. So standard data cloud permission sets, which is a highly recommended to use permission sets, like like say if you are creating any kind of a custom permission sets, cloning it and creating your own custom permission sets, that is not recommended. Why? Because like whenever any changes happens into data cloud by the Salesforce, then those changes will apply to the standard permission sets, but it will not move to the, or it will not affect onto the custom permission sets. So instead of going to the custom permission sets, it's highly recommended to go with the standard data cloud permission sets to assign or you create the users and assigning of those permission sets to those newly created users. So here we have a data cloud configuration steps. Initially, we'll go with the step one, updating the admin users. If if the user who is working on the data cloud should be an Salesforce admin user as well, such that he can uh, go and add those permission sets to those users. So add the data cloud admins and data cloud marketing admin permission sets to a system administrator. Then he can work on the provisioning of the cloud applications, navigate to the setup gear that you have, and you click on the setup and then you click on the data cloud setup. And then you will get started to creating users, providing permissions, and working on those objects that are available in the data cloud. The once you provision this data, then you will creating the profiles to create some profiles like data cloud users, cloning the standard identity users, data cloud as a default under custom application settings, and you will have these options when you have the admin data cloud admin permission sets in the website. So then next process is like next step is to add users and permission sets accordingly to it, and you will process these implementations, and accordingly you will start working on the connections, ingesting the data, configuring the identity resolutions, calculated insights, segmentations, activating the targets. All these options will be available once you have all these permissions and user licenses are assigned to a particular user, or if you want to work on those objects accordingly. Yeah, please next slide. So this is again, as I said earlier, like we have a different data cloud permission sets. We have data cloud admin, we have data cloud for marketing manager, we have data cloud for marketing admin, we have data cloud users as well, we have data cloud for marketing data aware specialists. We have a different licenses that we need to consider before assigning the permission sets to the user. So which type of permission sets you need to assign to that user, you just think about it and use accordingly and appropriately to give appropriate permissions to that user to work on those data. So as you see here, in fact, there are makes like I said earlier, like data cloud is earlier makes each and every cloud better. And for example, in the sales cloud, you can unlock the upsell and cross opportunities and many other things, right? So to work on this data, right, data cloud have some out of the box connectors available, and you can just use those connectors and connect with the external systems and bring all those data into the data cloud. So we have Salesforce Cloud connectors, we have CRM Marketing Cloud, B2C Commerce, Marketing Cloud Personalization connectors. You simply just go and give your credentials, allow authentication for those systems, and then definitely you will get all those data into the data cloud after having this. We have connectors and integrations with the external application or platforms as well. We have connectors for the Amazon S3. We have Google File storage device, storage platforms. We have any many other connectors, but for to accommodate few of them, I just mentioned a few names here. And you can also use the APS and mobile SDKs that you work with the data which you need to have a real time data of a customer, and then you can use this kind of APIs, and you will work. You can work on those data. So we have like web SDKs, mobile SDKs, ingestion APIs. You will be working with the MuleSoft and everything, right? So you can use these APIs to work with the router. Yeah, next slide, please. So we have a data bundles. We call it as a starter data bundles. So basically, when you connect with the Salesforce instances or sandboxes or the Salesforce data, right? So initially, you will get some kind of data bundles into the data cloud. The system can be imports of predefined objects like data sets from the data sources like sales cloud, service clouds, and many other connectors which are available for the Salesforce. You can the data cloud will automatically build a kind of a bundles that you can easily work on with to bring all those data from those sales systems and all. So, for example, like we have a marketing cloud starter data bundle where you can bring all those emails. You have the mobile connect, you have a mobile push options. All this data is readily available, and you can work on this data to unify it, to transform it, or to kind of activate those data and send it to the targeted systems. Next slide, please. Yeah, so before going to all those details into the data cloud, right? So first we need to identify what is the topology of the data cloud. So we have one-to-one uh, data connectivity with the system data cloud org, as like one CRM org can connect with the data cloud org, or one CRM org can connect to the multiple data cloud orgs, or multiple CRM orgs can connect with the single data cloud org. These options are available for the Salesforce instance or Salesforce CRM, where more than one of the CRM instance to a single instance, which is like M is to one, can able to connect and aggregate those multiple instances into a single instance and consolidated view of the customer. You work on this data. Okay. Again, we have, like we talked about the Amazon, which is an external data storage platform. You can also connect with the Amazon S3 using the Amazon S3 connector, which is available. And sorry. Yeah, so these Amazon S3 connections, we need to have a certain kind of pre-process steps that are involved in order to bring the Amazon S3 data into the data cloud. You need to register yourself, you need to activate those systems. So it will ask kind of a basic information of your personal user data, and you will be asking also for the payment options for the time being, like if you are working for the trial of, okay. So then it will not charge you, but it will definitely ask you a credit card details. If there is a, like there is a limit of credits being assigned to you to work on the Amazon S3 data, okay. So this after, like it will charge after those credits have been exhausted, and then like, so mostly like it will not end up with, but you can use those Amazon S3 credits and you can work with the data cloud along with the Amazon S3. So before, so after having all those buckets being created, and you want to provision, give, you need to give S3 permissions to those buckets that you are creating for. So here are the list of permissions that you need to activate before you work with the Amazon S3 buckets and all. Yeah. So next slide, please. And again, like. Connecting with the marketing cloud, you have the marketing cloud, you just provide the URL access permissions and all. You need to have an admin access for the marketing cloud. And one thing you need to note here is like when you're giving access to the marketing cloud, you're connecting with the data cloud, right? So you also need to see or make make ensure that the default the topmost parent business unit should be given access, as that the child business units to be used in activations. Otherwise, like it will not bring up all those data that is needed for the transformation and unification process in the data cloud. So these data bundles, again, we talked about in the earlier slide that marketing data cloud will have the kind of email studios. We have mobile connect and mobile push options. So you can utilize those data. Yeah, next slide, please. So again, we will talk about this data cloud topology. When you work with the marketing cloud and with the data cloud, you need to have this information available. Like when you are connecting with the marketing data cloud, it's like a have an option. We can able to connect with one-to-one systems, and it has also option of having one-to-m systems. Like a marketing cloud can connect to multiple data cloud orgs, and it doesn't have M to N options, which is an opposite to it, like opposite to the M1 to M, where one marketing cloud instance can connect to one single data cloud instance, but multiple marketing cloud instances cannot connect to a single or multiple data cloud instances. That you need to aware about it. Similarly, for the Commerce Cloud, we have connectors available for the Commerce Cloud. You just simply go give the URL and authentications of credentials and everything, and you can connect with the Commerce Cloud. And here again, we talk about this topology. In the Commerce Cloud, you have one-to-one options. You can connect with one commerce instance to one data cloud, and you have one-to-N also. You can connect with the one commerce cloud to the multiple data cloud orgs, multiple commerce instances to multiple data clouds. But you need to be aware about here is that currently the connectors that you are using for the commerce cloud is only supporting the production version of the commerce instances. So it will not go and it will not connect with the sandboxes that you're working. Yeah, so the data spaces. So basically, when you work with the data cloud, right? So we already talked about the data ingestion, we talked about the data transformation and all this, right? So the data ingestion part, okay. So we bring all those data from the external sources, harmonize it, and then we transform those data to appropriate a common language that talks about the customer information or the engagement data of the customer, and then right. So before going and working with the mapping process or the transformation process, we have also the spaces called, we call it as a data spaces, where you will be dividing all those data according to those regions. Like say you have an company which is working in the different regions, having different business lines, okay, and you want to bring all those data into data cloud. You will create a data space for each of the region, and you create all those data spaces and work accordingly with those data spaces. So on those data spaces, you will also work on the identity resolutions, calculated insights, segmentation, and activate your data based upon the context of the data space that you're working with. The next slide, please. So here the data space in the data cloud. So when to use these data spaces? Like as I explained earlier, right? So when you have a single data cloud for multiple brands, let's say you have a different uh, businesses in different regions and departments, then you will be using these data spaces to bring all those data into data cloud. The way to segregate the data based on the categories, example like I said earlier, like regions, brands, departments. uh, Based upon these data spaces, you can work on the work on the cloud, or work on the data that is coming from the external systems, or the data that you're ingesting from. So when not to use these data spaces, when you have any cross brand or regions, the data unification is the main scenario, then you will not use these data spaces. And again, you need to know here is that data spaces are not a data residency solutions, that like similarly like we use the Amazon S3, right? So where we are storing our data, and we have Azure systems as well, right? So Azure storage systems where you will be storing all those data, data lakes, data warehouses. Like so similarly, like data cloud is not a data residency solution; it's a kind of a data processing system that you will be using for the targeted systems. Next slide, please. So here we'll talk about the data ingestion and modeling. So once you build the data stream to connect to the source system, sorry, previous slide, please. Yeah, so we talk about the data ingestion, right? So data ingestion, once you build the data stream uh, to connect to the source system and bring in the data into the data cloud. So the data cloud is initially will have a kind of a reference place or the source where you will be bringing and putting all those data. If you can move to the next slide. So here we can see the overview of the flow where initially the data stream is being created, entities that can be extracted from the variety of systems that we have discussed earlier, that we can bring the data from the CRM systems, marketing clouds, Amazon S3, sales and services, every data that we can connect and bring those data you, and we'll create these data streams in the data cloud. So once this data stream is created, and the data which is coming and sitting into the data cloud, which initially lands into the uh, place where the data we call it as a data source objects, where the original and ingested data is stored. It's kind of a uh, what we call the respective data is it's kind of a reference that is sitting onto the data cloud. So once the data sits and comes into the data cloud, sits into the data source objects, then using this data, we can work onto the formulas, we can do some bulk transformation or streaming transformation. And once all these transformation and formulas are used to make this data to bring into to sit into the data lake objects, here where we actually utilize the storage and we consume the data here, the storage process. Okay, so whatever the data initially you created, like you just created the streams, you created the data comes into the data source, and then it sits into the when it sits into the data lake, actually the data consumption or storage consumption process happens. And once all those data which is been harmonized, which has been ingested, and you just transform it, and those data lake objects and again sits into the data model objects, and the data model object where you actually map all those data which is coming from the external sources and map with the standard model objects that are available in the data cloud from the data lake objects to make them a unified or common speaking language that are available for the customer to make it as a 360 view of the customer information. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so before making any data ingestions flow, so you need to think about like data model objects do not contain any copies of your data. So it's simply a pointers, the views of the data lake object that contains the actual data. So as I told earlier, like data lake object where we consume our storage. So it actually stores the data there. There from that it will be the data model objects will only refer or view those data from the data lake objects. You need to think about it like before assuming that the data lake or the before assuming that like you are consuming more data in those stages accordingly. Like it is not like every stage will consume the data, but only the data lake objects data will consume uh, the data actually, the storage actually. Okay. The next stage, please. So we already talked about the connectors, right? So we'll go deeply into these data cloud connectors. So we have CRM connectors, we have marketing cloud connectors, commerce connectors. Like so, the CRM connectors, it will basically ingest any data from the CRM in a few clicks through the pre-made bundles mapped to the data cloud data model. So this is the basic the common model of connectors that CRM is available, and you can able to connect and bring the data from the sales, service, commerce, marketing, and everything with a few simple clicks and make it ready available into the data cloud. See, seamlessly we integrates with the Salesforce proprietary APIs, and you can use these APIs to ingest the data from the Salesforce instances. So some use cases is like you want to bring some account data, case data, leads, and loyalty data for segmentations. Let's say like you have a customer who's like who is a loyal customers, and you want to identify those loyalty members who haven't purchased in the last 30 days, and you want to make them to provide a promotions to make them purchase a product. So based upon those data, you can activate those data and send those data to the appropriate targeted systems, and then you can work on it. It's a kind of a single repository of data across CRMs and other sources for the BI. So you can analyze those data, bringing after coming all those data into the data cloud, you can analyze it and you can uh, bring all those insights and give those information to the targeted system. Similarly, like marketing cloud, you bring the marketing cloud data it's a few clicks with any channels, the data link with opens, clicks, sponsors, etc. of the customer. Then you can bring those data. It has a native integration with the marketing cloud, It has the main use cases is to ingest email opens, the data clicks, identifying a top engagers from the segmentation. So surface the marketing insights to CRM engines. So these are all the use cases as for the marketing cloud. The commerce cloud, you will ingest the commerce cloud data and related customers and catalog data with the out of the box connectors available in the Salesforce or the data cloud. You just have a clicks, no code, a simple bring all those data, drag and drop, map those data, give a kind of processes that you need for the customer information or order information. Simply use this. And the use cases mainly unifies the online data coming from the commerce cloud and offline data as well, where the point of sales is happening. All those data brings into the understand the real lifetime value of the customer. And this you can leverage the order data to create affinities based on the previous purchasing patterns within the data cloud. To tell them that like using this previous purchasing order data and affinities, you can suggest or recommend a best purchasing product for the customer. Yep. So next slide, please. And we also have other web SDKs. We have mobile SDKs. We have APIs where you can ingest all those data into different models, different systems that don't uh, have the connectors available. You can use the APIs or you can ingest all those data into the data cloud. Yeah, next slide, please. So again, like you have also connectors available for your personalization, marketing cloud, cloud file storages, and you can also use the MuleSoft if there is any no default connectors available in the systems. You can use the MuleSoft as well, and you need to have aware about that. Like currently, the Snowflake and Azure, uh, we cannot bring all those data into the data cloud using the MuleSoft as currently is not been configured. It's in the roadmap and will definitely have those options available for these systems as well. Next slide is. So when you are ingesting data from the external systems, you need to have this data available. You need to aware about the data ingestion timings. That marketing cloud will have the look back window of 90 days, which will be delivered in the batch processes, and it will do these operations in 24 hours refresh rate. So what is this look back window? So when you're working with the marketing cloud, if you want to bring the customer or the subscribers information into the data cloud, it will bring only up to the 90 days of data into the data cloud. And this data will be processed into the batch and it will be happen in the 24 hours refresh period. And you can also do a manual refreshes by clicking on the hourly deltas that you will be bring on to the system as well. The four you cannot do more than four times a refresh of this data within the 24 hours period. You also have the Salesforce CRM, and the for Salesforce CRMs we have no limit. You can do any number of days back historical data bring into the data cloud, but again this will be processed into the batch. It will have a 10 minutes of latency, bi-weekly 5 minutes, and it will ingest those data accordingly with these time periods. Uh, and again, we have also the external systems with the cloud file storages from S3, Google Cloud Storages as used. And currently, there is no like we have the connectors available for this. The loopback window is not available. You can bring up the whatever the data you stored into those storage systems, and it will be processed into the batch and we'll bring up into this. And we mainly about we need to think about the look back windows for the marketing cloud, commerce cloud, and the Salesforce instances. For the commerce cloud, it will be take up to 30 days of data to bring all those customer data or the order purchasing data all into the data cloud within the batch processings. So it will happens into the hourly, daily basis. all the sales orders, all the other full refreshes will happen uh, according to this latency daily, hourly basis on the data. So we have other ingestion timings for the marketing cloud personalization, ingestion APIs, web SDKs. Yeah, please, next slide. Like before going forward, like after ingesting of your data or you're creating any data streams, so data should be linked with one of these object types to start working on well. So we have data object type categories in the data cloud where you will be differentiate the data which is coming into the system by using the profiles. We have engagement, we have others options. Though we talk about the profiles is like a segmented data that is that it contains the information of the customer, like the account information. We have contact or the subscriber data or the loyalty member. Customer information which we generally work with will have a data type or object type as a profile, and we have an engagement type. It is a time series data, and event time field must be defined as part of the setup. So like we have event time should be an immutable, otherwise the records will not be other like otherwise the records will be duplicated. Like we say the record created date, the record updated date. So likewise, the data should be immutable. So we will be work on the data created date instead of going to the create or the last modified date or updated date. Why? Because it will be changes with the data that we update whenever it is needed. So we will not be using this uh, data which is frequently changing. So these can be like email sends, sales orders, cases, case created date, task created date, or web events like when the customer has been done his purchasing on the date on which the purchase was made, and etc. So other than this data, if you have any other information available, which is not commonly like used for those things, you have the other object type. You can use this like price books, contact points, consent forms, or any member benefits, loyalty benefits, products, and everything you can define within the other object type categories. Next slide, please. And we also have data field types in the data cloud like text, number, date time, and other been added. Uh, can you move to the next slide? Others been added here as well, like email, phone, URL, person, bullet. I will not go in deep into this. Yeah, it's a common things like every instances will have. So basically, like the main thing we need to make a difference here is like a date and date time. But the timestamps will be different for those date and date time field types. You need to be aware, like when working with those uh, data fields when you are working with the data. Next slide, please. The data transformation. So once the data is been ingested, like we have talked about the data streams. We talked about the data streams, like you will be bringing all those data, the entities that can be extracted from a different sources, systems where the data is actually resides, which we call it as a source systems. So those source systems might be the CRM systems, the marketing cloud, commerce cloud, or any kind of Amazon S3 systems and all those data. Right. So all these data will create the data streams for them. So once the data stream is created, it sits and lands into the data source object where the original data sits into, and then we use a certain formula fields to make certain fields like some data which is coming into the data cloud have uh, no certain fields which are not mapping with our requirements, like we want to create any a unique identifier field which can club with those data and bring those formulas, and we can create those fields into the data cloud. So during the transformation process, we use the formula fields, we use the bulk and streaming transformation as we talked earlier, right? So we will be using this processes and brings all those data into the data lake objects where the actual the storage happens of these data which is coming from the external sources. And once this data lake objects stores this data and transforms happens, then this data will sends to the data model objects to map all those fields. Why? Because the coming incoming data has different data formats, having naming different naming conventions and different strategies of those data, and then uh, to make them to speak with the common data language with that standard model available in the data cloud. We use the data model objects to map all those data and set those data available to other systems to process this information and unify those data and activate on those data. Next slide, please. And again, so during the transformation process, we use the formulas, bulk transformation, streaming transformations, right? So here the formulas is basically we use to enhance or enrich any source data which is coming into the data cloud. Like we are trying to create any kind of a primary keys, a unique primary keys by adding or the concatenating those fields to make like you have some bringing some subscriber data from the marketing cloud, adding those ids with along with the email address to make it a primary key, to make it as a unified id for the references. Okay, we also can set the pick list values for this using the functions like if and not, making those available for the data cloud to make the unified those data. And we can have a standardizing uh, model of the formulas, like you can use uppercase letters formatting for activations like proper replace. These can also available for this data, and this is a kind of a sorry, the transforming the data sources have the supplemental fields can be hard coded or derived from other fields in the data stream as well, such that you need to test those data before you are sending or activating those data as well. Next slide, please. So we'll see here one of the example like data transformation, how this is happens. Let's we talk it as like we are bringing the data from the marketing cloud. It has two email addresses, like it has a business email and personal email addresses. And in the data cloud, when you bring or ingest those data into the data cloud, during the transformation process, we map these business email addresses with the standard model available in the data cloud. We say like a contact point email address. So here we when we map these data, right? So initially it will allows only one email address to map with. So to overcome these situations, like we have two email addresses and we want to have these two email addresses available in the data to process it further, we will be splitting those records, transforming and performing some aggregations, joining these data sources. Using this transformation process, we can able to create, or the system will able to create two separate records or a separate data lake references for these email addresses that you can map with the standard model available in the data cloud. So it will create two email addresses of ID called 001, and you have uh, associated email addresses, and it will create a separate data lake objects where you can refer these email addresses, and you can map both these email addresses into the contact pan email address, into the standard model of the data lake. Next slide, please. So we have seen one of the options to the transform the data. One is the formulas. Earlier we see this how formulas will work. And again, we will be using another options like we have batch transformation and streaming formations. And the batch transformation is work on the historical data when you are working with the bulk amount of data. And repeatable processes can be scheduled or triggered manually. Works with the data lake and data model objects as a source objects. And when we come into the data stream transformations, it acts on the one row of data which at a time to transform those data in its ingested form. Like let's say if you are using the streaming transformation, if you want to bring any customer data, like when you are entering into a nearby stores, okay, so it's called as a geo uh, fence location where you will track on mobile data or the website data that you bring to transform those data. You can use this streaming transformations. Works only with the data lake objects, and both the batch transforms and the streaming transforms will not replace with the calculated insights. It will not work with the calculated insights. Next slide. So here we talked about the data which is coming from the different sources, vast variety of sources like Amazon S3, we have Sales Cloud, we have Service Cloud, right? So these disparate schemas connected, we are, let's say talk about the contact coming from the sales side, subscriber information from the marketing cloud, guest information from the commerce cloud, and we have a customer invoices from the other systems, okay. So all these data comes and sits into the data source objects and then to the data lake objects, and we start working on mapping or transforming those data to make a standardized or normalized data model such that it can speak the common language to other downstream processes that can be unified and activate those data based upon this uh, mapped information. So we have let's say the contact coming from the sales cloud. Okay, so it will brings his first name, last name, and subscriber information will also have a first name, last name, and guest information. So it will bring all those data, unify it, and transform them, and create a standard model called an individual data model here. So you see to the right of the screen, you will see have individual data model where you will have the first name, last name, middle name, and all. And if this data contains any email information, that email information will be uh, mapped with contact point email IDs or contact point email addresses. Okay. So similarly, like if you have any addresses available or from these source systems, okay, so these addresses will be mapped with the contact point addresses in the standard data model. So similarly, like other fields can be mapped accordingly such that you can be well prepared for the data unification process to make them available for the targeted systems. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so whenever you work with the data which is coming from many sources or multiple locations like Amazon S3, Google Cloud Storages, Salesforce CRM systems, and whatever data you brings into the systems, definitely it should follow the data ethics. Okay, so like data ethics is subjected to the rights of the customer information to be retained into the system. So whenever any customer information, any customer or the user wants his data not to be processed further, then he can request this process of data deletion using right to forgotten information, restricting the processing or restricting the processing of the data access and export options will be stopped. Okay, so this happens using the consent API. So the request will be request to delete the customer data happens using the consent API in the data cloud option. A data cloud deletion request deletes the specified individual record from the individual data model objects and related data model objects which are associated with the user or the customer information who requested the data deletion option. So these data deletion requests are processed in 30, 60, and 90 days to ensure a full deletion and you must submit any data deletion request in all connected systems and also Salesforce clouds as well. Yeah, next slide, please. So this is a kind of an additional details. If you want to work with the data cloud and you want to have some additional information or to work with the hands-on challenges level, you have a trilogs available. Basically, this is available for the partners, that is provisioning with the partner learning camps. So you can have those trilogs available and you can work on this. And this trilog period will be for the 30 days, and beyond that it will not be extended and it will be get expired and you will not reuse those data cloud logs. So basically this is option available for the partners and they can utilize these services as well. Next slide, please. So currently, we have covered the provisioning, data ingestion, and data mapping, which is called as an harmonization, and then we'll go with the identity resolutions, which is a unification process during the data processing systems. So it will be end with the data preparation process, and then we'll go for the data migration. So the identity resolution, which is an unification process, once we bring all those data or the source system data into the data cloud, we have provisioned them, we have ingested them, and we have harmonized them. Like we have mapped all the required data information into a standard data model object, and then it's time for the data resolution process. Can you move it? So in the data resolution process, as I already explained in the previous slides, like the data coming from the different sources, from the contact, from the sales cloud or the service cloud, the contact is coming into the system, and you have a subscriber information from the marketing cloud, guest shopper information from the commerce cloud, and etc. Right. So these data will then sits into the data lake object and the data model objects respectively, and you will be transforming all those data. And once the transformed data is readily available, you can perform the identity resolution on this based on the matching rules and the reconciliation rules. And matching rules and reconciliation rules we'll talk in the next slide. So the identity resolution based on these matching rules, you matched with the phone, email, addresses, or a unified profile and everything, right? So using those matching rules, even you can cleanse or make a unified profile such that this can be used for other systems to service or cater those customers accordingly, or you can give a better service for the customer. Next slide, please. So we'll see here a steps to a unified models. So you will create a rule sets. Rule sets contains the match rules and match methods. And once you create these match methods and match rules, you will have the reconciliation rules created based upon these matching methods. And then you will execute these rules and reconciliation rules, matching methods, and etc. And then to validate those data, the outcomes of these matching rules, you will be validating and you will be confirming that okay, this is the right data that we will be work on with, and then you will process for that. Next slide, please. So quick recap, we recap for this data resolutions basis, like you will be identifying the resolutions based on the created unified view, like you will be using the matching methods, matching rules, and all, right? So the process, you will be breaking down those into stages, matching and reconciliations. Based upon the matching rules and reconciliations, the data will be grouped, or the accounts gets together based on the criteria that we defined in the matchings and the reconciliation rules. So we group matching criteria into rules. The more rules you create, the less likely we have to make a match. Appropriate or a standard matching will happens. Next slide, please. So here we have the matching methods, how we have matching all those records according to our requirements. We have certain supported formats here. We have exact match, we have normalized match, we have fuzzy match. So exact match exactly will deals with the phone, email, name, addresses, or device information or party ID. And the normalized supported for the name contact point fields like email, phone addresses, and all. And the fuzzy supported for the text fields like first name, and you will support in the Latin one, ISO 88591 characters. So you will be using these supported formats to filter those records and make a unified profile. Next slide, please. So the party identification object versus party. So when you bring any customer information into the data cloud, you will be mapping with those data with the party and the party identification object. A party is nothing but a field that acts as a foreign key for the party identification and contact point objects to the individual ID that you are mapping those data for the customer. The individual IDs must be mapped to the party on every contact point you want to include in activation. The similar way, the party identification object used to support unification, and it is critical when you extract party IDs and are used to identify the resolution. Data Cloud recognizes that individual ID as a one-to-many relationship with the party. So when you have any uh, custom-defined data model or the data object fields, then you will to have define the relationship between those objects with the source system and the target system objects that to bring to unify to speak with a common language. Next slide, please. So again, a quick recap for this matching criteria that you earlier seen, right? So matching rules. This is the important thing that you need to consider here. Like you can match identities based on the attributes like first name, last name, and date of birth. Contact points like email. Email should be mapped with the contact point email addresses. And if you have any other kind of addresses like user addresses, that should be mapped with the contact point addresses and other identifiers as well. The matching rules you can be normalized. We have seen the different matching methods, right? Fuzzy method, normalized, exact matching to allow for a great flexibility in variation of the data formatting. The fuzzy matching allows a probabilistic matching of the first names, nothing else. Okay. So the party identification is a precise way to match identifiers across systems, but needs careful configurations to work correctly. So if you map with the different party identification with the different data, it will give the wrong results and it will give the wrong predictions that you cannot be activate those data to work with the targeted systems. Next slide, please. So again, we talked about the matching rules. Though initially we have seen earlier that we are different steps are involved during the transformation and all, right. So here we will be creating the rule set. Rule set contains the matching rules and the matching criteria. The inside the matching rule you have a matching criteria. So these matching criteria are in the and conditions, and when you club all those criteria and make a rule, and you will create a rule set, the every rule will have an or conditions. So this will gives like an information. Okay, we will be adding more rules. Will increase or decrease the potential match rate. Definitely, it will increase the matching rate when you add more rules into the rule set. Okay, so the conditions you need to consider, like if you add more complex conditions, it will uh, create a better matching rules conditions or give the better results, bringing of the unifying the customer data into the data cloud. Next slide, please. So here again, this slide again replicates the same process like matching rule balancing. So here we'll see from the top we see the high matching rules, probabilistic data of the customer information. You have a matching rule option. When once you talk about the email, phone, party identifier addresses, and you're matching with those requirements, then it will be increases the matching rate, gives you the results of the matching criteria based upon those rules you define. So as you go down, if you create a complex structure, you want to bring up uh, the better results from all those data, then it will definitely brings your um, conditions or lowers down the outcome of your data that is being used for the unification of the customer data. So you need to consider in which way you want to bring up those profiles of the customer information, and what criteria or rules you want to define based upon these criteria. You want the better options, then you go for uh, the higher to the lower ranges based upon your requirements. So again, the quick wrap of the matching criteria rules: we match profiles that share the common criteria. Adding more criteria decreases the match rate. The groupings of criteria are called the rules, and adding more rules increases the match rate. Groupings of rules are called the rule sets and produces a unified profile that can be further loaded into the actions, data actions, and we have the activation targets. Then we'll use send those data to the targeted systems. Next slide, please. So reconciliation rules, we have the different models, like we have talked about the matching rules and reconciliation rules, right? So we have talked about the match rules, and now it's time for the reconciliation rule. The reconciliation rule is the rule based, allows you to dictate a process for how field values are populated, like it's last updated, last modified, or kind of a recently processed data. Based upon those criteria, you will be showing those values, and you are populating those values according to these uh, processes that you defined on. Organized by attributes, unified profiles, attributes, and contact points can be unified, but be careful how they are used. Like produced after matching is completed. These information based upon like if you want to bring those data and reconciliate it using the last modified date, so last updated date, so it will bring all those information only from the source system that are last modified and last updated. So be like careful on how you want to work with those data. Yeah. Next slide, please. So here we again we just want to talk about the system of records and system of reference. Here, when we talk about the system of record, the system of record is nothing but the source systems that where from we are bringing those data into the data lake, data cloud. Okay. So the source systems, like we have the multiple orgs, like Salesforce CRM system having uh, multiple CRM system orgs, where the system of records is decided, like which is mastered into those instances. So we have a system of references as well, like we have seen in the data cloud, like we are bringing all those data into the data cloud. We are just making a reference into the data source objects, and then moving into the data lake objects, and we are mapping and transforming those into data model objects to standardized form and standard model form. So these data, we call it as a reference data. And we also seen that data cloud is not a data residency solutions. Okay, right? So because of this reason, we just saying that this data cloud is a data reference, is not a data residence system. So next slide, please. Yeah. So having a recap, we have a rule sets and unified profiles and links being provided. So when we bring all those data into the data cloud, right? So you have a unified profiles, which is a key identifier or the keyring that groups all its matched records together. And the unified link is a junction record that allows you to access the unified profile ID and any other link associated with it. So in the previous slide, you have seen that link has been created between the individual object and individual uh, model objects. So in between, you have a link that has been created, which is we call it as a junction object, as a reference to those objects to unify those profiles of the customer information. The data cloud's unification is a non-destructive, and it allows data within source systems to change. So you cannot change after those data is processed and everything. So you can have a multiple identity resolution rule sets in the data cloud or to handle different use cases or different scenarios based upon your requirements. So every data spaces needs to be a separate identity resolution rule sets. We have talked about data spaces based upon the multiple regions your company is working on, and you want to create a data space according to those regions. Those data spaces need a separate identity resolutions to work on the context of those data spaces. Next slide, please. So again, important considerations during your work on the unification processes. Unification process timings is mainly considered here. So when you want to create or update any rules, so it is on demand, and you can also do it's maximally like it will be happens in the 24 hours period, and you can do it on a demand instant and maximum up to 4 times in 24 hours period, and it can be scheduled in the batch processes every 24 hours. The these unified data will be processed and sent further to the other process systems to activate those data. You need to consider these timings for every unification data that you work on. Next slide, please. Insights. So we talked about the calculated insight. Calculated insights is we think about the sequel of unified data. So build multidimensional metrics. So you define a multidimensional metric such as lifetime value of a customer or any customer satisfaction analysis or any other entire digital state stored into the data cloud. So you can also supercharge these calculated insights using the segmentations. Use calculated insights using the segment builder to gain deeper understanding of your customers. What are their needs? What are their uh, purchasing processes, recommendations, etc. on the customer side. And you can activate these personalizations using the calculated insights. You can also use the profile APIs. Calculated insights are available in the APIs to use at every touch point to look over what type of personalized information or the unified profile has been created for this particular customer on a particular scenarios that you have built for your purpose. So next slide, please. And we talked about the calculated inserts as a SQL, right? So SQL has a statement like select statement. You have when kind of aggregation attributes. You will have kind of uh, aggregations on these data that you bring from the sales order of a customer or any other information you want to sum it up, and you want to identify how many users are being loyal customers to send them a kind of a promoted or a kind of a personalized promotions to those customers and all. So based upon this, like you will create a calculated insights. You will have uh, measures. We call them it as a measures and the dimensions. So measure set dimensions must be end with underscore underscore c, and the measures must be an aggregate functions, and there must be at least one measure available for that calculated inside. Only numeric values in the measures are supported, and non-numeric measures are not supported currently. And for example, like you will be having a max of date, a max of last update. Okay, so will not work. Why? Because those will not give a value for this. So temporary tables are not supported. Okay, so you need to consider like a calculated insert. There should be a one measure and one dimension should be available, and that individual source system should be available, which should be a join for an individual data model objects to work with these calculated insights. Next slide, please. So again, okay, so quick recap for the calculated results used for the building of multi-dimensional metrics on your data. Basically, it's kind of a SQL select statements, and that creates its own objects and relationships in the data cloud. And there should be one metric and one dimensions are required when you work with the calculated insights. And your options to edit to calculated insight are limited after they are initially created. Think before you work with the calculated insight, measure twice to cut once. Okay, so calculated insights can be connected to data actions to trigger events based on the changes or the new records that you work with. Next slide, please. Streaming insights, you also already seen that streaming insights are multi-dimensional metrics that you want to have a real-time insight based upon the customer visits to the stores or the mobile interactions or the website interactions. You just want to track those and send those data informations to the data actions to support supercharge the event or the orchestrate the integrations with the data actions. So we filter and reliably deliver customer informations to manage this data and insights from the data cloud, to have a real-time informations like customer has visited a troubleshooting page for more than 2 or 3 times, and you want to create an automated case into the Salesforce system, then you will go with the streaming insights and you create those data. Next slide, please. So again, we like streaming insights. We have an anatomy of the streaming insights. It's similarly like the Sokal statement, but we have different definitions for this. You will have a start and the end as a definition for the streaming insight. So definitely, like you will be in the period of kind of a minute or hour, you will be having a window time attribute that should be defined during your streaming insight configurations and also quantitative values like number of page views. If you want to attribute them, you want to segment or aggregate sum and count on those, you will be measuring on those data for the customers in the streaming insights. These will be having like a window will be in the time attributes that will be work on the 1 minutes to up to 24 hours, and you can bring all those customer information and you will process those information to the targeted systems. Next slide, please.
Yeah. Sheikh, we can move to direct last slide because these are no need, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. Okay, mostly all the time I have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Okay, so like simply like all the data cloud features that you will see is like initially you will just ingest those data, bring those data into the data cloud from the different source systems, then unify you, then you will be harmonize it, you then transform this data, unify it, and then send those data into the data actions like targeted systems, and then you work with those data. So as it's not a kind of a 1 day sessions for this data cloud is a huge opportunity for the uh, engineers or the developers or architects that you work with the Salesforce instance, right? So like it will take more time to cover it, so we'll try to make another session for this to have some hands-on with it, and we'll cover up for in-depth sessions with the data cloud in the coming days. Okay, so like I will go with the closing session with this like data cloud learning journeys. You will have different options available in the trial head models. You can go to with learn and gain some knowledge on the data cloud. And if you are a partner, then you will have a partner learning journeys. You will be having those data cloud trilogues available. You can go and have an hands-on sessions with those data clouds also. So you can go to the last slide. Like so next slide is also shows that like you have a partner learning slide where you can have enable those modules and curriculums. You will activate those systems and you will work on those data cloud features and you will work on it. So like next slide, please. Yeah. Again, like it's an optional, you can go and have an optional language. You can work on those data cloud. Yep. So we'll have those projects available in the partner learning climb trailhead dogs. You will gain some knowledge and you can get ready for the data cloud certifications if you're looking for, and you can go through these trailhead dogs as well. Yeah, it's in the finally. Like sorry, I just occupied all your time and just uh,
Yeah.
not given any time for other options, right? So apologies for this. Okay, so if you have any questions and if you have any kind of any requirements, or if you have any doubts, you just reach out to these community members and we will definitely reply to those questions to you, and we will be getting back to you if you need any help there.
Yeah, I have one
And
question, Sheikh. Like,
yeah,
we need to map some custom field through MuleSoft. So then object should be there in a DM or DLO, right?
correct.
Yeah, like which one we need to select, DM or DLO in that case?
In that case, we'll be selecting on the DLOs. So DLOs where you actually consume the storage, right? So DLO is the actual data where, and the DMO where you will be having the view of those data, where you can actually work and map with those data. So we will be Pointing out to the data model objects once you have mapped all those data or transformed those data which is available, and then we'll work on the objects to further process those customer information to activate those and unify those data.
Thank you. Is there any questions related to data cloud? I guess no, so I can move to agent force thing. Today we are going to discuss like a quick overview on agent force, like what is the agent force and all. So we have separate session for agent force with the MuleSoft integration in January. We have agent force tour in India. So before that, it is kind of a overview session, I can say. Um, we are like now in a AI revolution phase now, like from chatbots to co-pilots, so now agents now. So this is like a kind of a starting point, something we need to learn about ourselves. And we'll see like before moving to a actual thing, like what is agent force and all, like we'll see like what is the agents first, right? So agents are like everywhere. You may like watched in a dream force this time, so everywhere agents they showed like to us this time. Agents here like because of llms, I can see llm can't take a decision by themselves, so they need help. That's the reason we have agents. So LLM don't have information about the end system or our customer data. So they need some assistant. So then we need agents to do a practical use case. So usually like we build a software as a whole approach, right? So but now using the agents, we can build the blocks. So this small blocks is called as a action. So agents are like a secured by the enterprise data that's secured by Einstein trust layer. So now we can ask like what is the Einstein trust layer? That is a different topic, but this will usually secure your all customer data. It may be anything. Okay. So now we can ask like how agents like are different from the bots. So is it just a like higher name for the bots? No, or a fancy version of bots? No. So the chat bots are like a very effective for a simpler task like change the password or anything. But when it comes to a complex task, like bots won't have that ability to take decision, take a long time. It will take long time to a response, like change the shipping address from Mumbai to Bangalore or Bangalore to Chennai. So it takes some time. So in that case, we need agents, right? So agents are like autonomous and that take action on your behalf. So it will build the graph between LLM and practical use case. So now we'll see like where and all we use agent force in the industry. So we'll use banking, retail, healthcare, technology, telecom, insurance. Everywhere we use agent force. So yeah, just now I said like it's not a higher version. It's not like a fancy name for the agent force. Is not fancy name of chatbots or copilot. It's like a kind of a revolution, I can say, from chatbots to copilot, copilot to agent force. So now here you can see one example, like what is the difference between you can see this conversation, like a difference between a chatbot and agents. The some scenario like it's a air fryer one scenario. So here it asking like we need to extend this air fryer. So it asking, I can help with your extend. What is your order number? So it asking like if you want to extend this air fryer, the chatbot is asking what is the order number for this. So then user is like answering that it's the last time I purchased it, but chatbots is couldn't able to recognize that like what item you purchased like last time. What is the order number for that? But agents it can recognize that. It means like compared to chatbots, agents are like a more conversational and a more proactive and more dynamic, I can say. And we can see like what is the main difference between chatbots and agents. Like bots are required lot of training data set, like a lot of programming codes compared to agents. to work very efficiently, and the bots have like a very limited knowledge on some condition based case. But compared to agents are like autonomous agent, like it will background will be a generative AI. It will contain some company's data, hence it require minimal training. So here they use like a natural language instruction backend. Yeah, now we'll see like before moving to agent force concept, we need to see like what are the five attribute present in agents, right? So we have like a role, data, action, guardrails, and channel that is in agents. The agent must have some rule. So sorry, a role. Agent must have some role. So here role means it need to do some specific task or specific group of tasks, I can say. For example, it may be used in weather assisting, in a sales or a service agent. It may be a scheduling the appointment. This is a particular task, right? That particular task it need to do, that is called as a role. So otherwise we can see it going to be like what task is going to achieve, or what task particular thing it need to achieve. So that is called as a role here. The next thing is a data. Before moving to agent first, we need to know all this terminology. That's the reason I'm giving quick overview on this. So what is the data here? Like any data given to agents, that makes agents more powerful, right? So all the data in the Salesforce platform, we can give access to agent. It will fetch any data from the external system. The data can be, it may be a structured data, unstructured data, it may be a semi-structured data. So next attribute is action. So we know that agents are able to do something. So it able to do that something, that is called as a action. For example, to placing in the order management, it will place the order. That is called as an action. To placing that order is called as an action. So we are going to see today like once the it like in the in a future session, we can see like how we can going to build that custom action. So once agents trigger, what job it run, it like what job it will run it action. So based on the instruction, like we are going to see in a future. Next one is a guardrails. So guardrails are more like a boundary, I can say. It prevents like something going to wrong, or decision or hallucination, to ensure that your agents is working fine in boundary. So it defines what agents supposed to do or what agents not supposed to do. These all things it will take comes under guardrails. Next is a act channel. So where your agent can access, it may be a Slack channel, it may be a mobile, it may be a WhatsApp, a Facebook, SMS, anything. It kind of any interface, I can say, user can access. That is called as a channel. Now we can see like how the background these agents will be work. Okay, it may be any conversation coming from not only a Slack, it may be anything I said, right? It may be a SMS, Facebook, anything. But for this use case, the conversation is coming from a Slack channel. This will trigger like I want information about the inventory system, and it will send it to a context to LLM. LLM will be clarify the intent, and further it will clarify the topic and get the instruction. So then it will select the chain of instruction, and it may be a standard action, it may be a custom action. So and gather the input, and it will give the output. We'll see in the further slide what is the standard action and what is the custom action as well. This is the kind of like how agents will plan and how agents will take the action. So before moving to a standard action and a custom action, I give a quick introduction on like a topics. Topics means it's a, like a group of action, I can say. For example, in the order management, here we have like a set of actions like a get order, send order, or status of the order, or send a message, etc. is all comes under the action. So here we are like clubbing this set of action is called as a topic. Okay. So now in the action, we have two types. One is a standard action and another one is a custom action. A standard action is a something like it's a provided by the Salesforce. They have like just a basic action like account or a state account summary or account status. This all comes under a standard action. So custom action means it's created by using the prompts. So we will see the custom action in a future session. Okay, how to build that and all. Yeah, like make your own agents with the agent builder. Like we can create and configure the agent action by using a prompts, by using a flow, by using a MuleSoft to connect the system. So we can see in next month like how we can connect agent force with the MuleSoft. We have separate session for that, and we have like Apex and JavaScript code to custom action. So how we can like connect agents with different thing here they are saying. And we know like recently they launched help.salesforce.com, just a kind of um, I can say some kind of helpless kind of thing. So if you have any doubts or anything, you can ask in the help.salesforce.com related to any Salesforce product. So I tried this one. You can also try it. Like it's just you just go to just you don't need any login or anything. Just go to this site help.salesforce.com and you can ask any questions. Um, like I tried few things like how to enable MuleSoft services in Salesforce. I asked it given something, but okay, like 80% is given correctly. Maybe they recently released. We need we get more features on this in future. But yeah, it's a good thing. Salesforce is launched this Agent Force Help. Um, this is the one new feature I want to discuss. Yeah, that's all from my side. It's just kind of a overview um, on Agent Force. The demo, everything will see in January. So, if you have any questions, please let us know. Anyone have any question? I guess no one have any question. Okay, thanks, Saki. Yeah, we can wrap up this session. Like it's a kind of, I know it's kind of more towards overview kind of, because in future session we have like integration MuleSoft with the data cloud and integration MuleSoft with the agent force. That's the reason I kept this session for overview kind of. If you have any question, don't worry. Like you can ask to Sheikh. He is available on LinkedIn, and you can ask me as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for attending this session. Thank you. Thank you, Sheikh, for this session.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you.